Hello everybody and welcome to the Showcase, where we take a look at articles on Wookieepedia, the Star Wars wiki. Today on the Showcase we take a look at Chorin, so let's get started. Quote, "The Empire abandoned Chorin, but so did I." Baylor Valance to Darth Vader. Chorin was a rocky mining planet located in the Interim Territories Chorin system. Its human population, including the Valance family, was enslaved as miners for generations before being liberated by an Imperial force led by Captain Tarl Sokoli, with the Empire also maintaining a presence on the planet. After the mines were depleted, the Empire abandoned Chorin, leaving its population defenseless against the raiders that would eventually form the criminal syndicate known as the Hidden Hand. In 1BBY, during a visit to Chorin, Sith Lord Darth Vader offered the cyborg bounty hunter Baylor Valance, a native of the planet whom he had captured, a position in the Empire. Shortly after the visit, the residents of Valance's village on Chorin left their home and migrated to a rebel base on the world Loic, following a deal between Valance and the rebels Gita and Aliar. Vader later sent a detachment of stormtroopers to the settlement to slaughter its people, but upon arriving, the troopers discovered that the village had been abandoned. Description: an Interim Territories planet in the Chorin system, Chorin had a breathable Type 1 atmosphere. It was situated in grid square N14 of the standard galactic grid. Chorin's surface was rocky, with hills and mountains forming the landscape. When viewed from space, Chorin appeared blue in color. The Itani Nebula was visible from the planet's surface. History: Slavery and Liberation. Quote, "Our people mined these hills for generations, as slaves, but now we mine for profit, as free men and women, thanks to our liberators, thanks to the Empire." Baylor Valance's father to his son. For generations, the humans of Chorin, which included the Valance family, were enslaved by pirates controlling the mines. They mined the hills of the planet until they were liberated by a Galactic Empire force led by Captain Tarl Sokoli during the Empire's reign. In that time, he also led the liberation of Chorin City, killing 17 pirates in the battle. The regime maintained its presence on the planet with multiple starships, including Imperial-class Star Destroyers, Class 4 container transports, and Alpha 3 Nimbus-class V-Wing starfighters. As a free population, the people began mining the planet for profit. The father of Baylor Valance, a human child miner, explained Chorin's history when the boy inquired if he himself would remain a miner his whole life, like his grandfather before him. The Empire later held a parade in one of the planet's cities, in which several stormtroopers and an all-terrain tactical enforcer Walker, piloted by Sokoli, walked among a crowd. Valance ran through the crowd in order to see the Walker himself, but was seized by a stormtrooper. Dismissing the trooper, the captain approached the boy and gave him a ration bar, explaining how he himself had once experienced cruelty. At some point, Valance owned a miniature model of a V-Wing starfighter and had his mother repair it when it was damaged. He wished to fly a V-Wing himself, with his mother telling him not to forget them when he was living a glamorous life in space, despite his father expressing disapproval and stating the boy's destiny was to work in the mines like the rest of Chorin's populace. At one point, Valance and his lover, Urella Vega, sat atop a cliffside while they discussed the former's desire to leave the planet and join the Empire, having been inspired by Sokoli's actions, with Vega expressing her sadness at the fact. Vega later handed him a fire ruby belonging to her family for him to remember her by. After reaching adulthood, Valance departed his village via an Imperial transport ship in order to become a pilot in the Imperial Starfighter Corps around 13 BBY. The Empire later abandoned the planet after the mines were depleted, leaving Chorin's population vulnerable to raiders, who attacked their village on at least one occasion. Without the Empire's protection, many of Chorin's inhabitants were killed despite attempts to defend themselves. Abandoned by the Empire. Quote, "What remains of your people is still down there. Safe. For now." Darth Vader to Baylor Valance. In 10 BBY, after being discharged from the Imperial military following the Mimban campaign, in which Valance was gravely injured and received extensive cybernetics, Valance returned to Chorin only to discover that his village was left in ruins. He found the people of his village by a bonfire and learned about the cause of his home's destruction from Vega. Determined to hunt down the raiders, Valance left the village in pursuit of them and managed to locate the mountain where the raiders resided. However, he found that they had already left the area. The raiders had gone on to form the Hidden Hand criminal syndicate after departing the planet. Following his failure to locate the raiders, Valance left Chorin and started a career in bounty hunting. Around 10 BBY, and shortly prior to embarking on a job, Valance contacted a droid station at Receiver Station 35639 on Chorin and attempted to speak with Vega while she and a group of miners were hauling supplies from the mines. However, he closed the transmission line just before communication was established between the two. In one BBY, Valance and Dark Lord of the Sith Darth Vader traveled to Chorin after the bounty hunter was captured in a skirmish on the world Hiva. Upon arriving on Chorin's surface, Vader invited Valance back to the Empire after showing him that his people at the village were temporarily safe from harm. Sometime afterward, the population of the village on Chorin migrated to a rebel base located on the world Loic as part of a deal between Valance and Rebel Alliance members Alar and Gita, with the bounty hunters promising a supply of weapons in return. When Valance abandoned Vader and his forces at the Hidden Hand's main outpost after dealing with the Syndicate's leader, Gui, the Sith Lord sent a detachment of stormtroopers to massacre the population at Valance's home. Upon arriving, however, the troopers discovered that the village had been completely abandoned. Inhabitants. Quote, "The Valance family has dug, scratched, and clawed through these hills for centuries." Baylor Valance's father to his son. The mining planet Chorin was inhabited by humans, including the Valance family, who were enslaved as miners for many generations until their liberation by the Galactic Empire. Chorin had the stench of mine dust and sweat. Following a deal made by Valance and a group of rebels, the population of Valance's village departed their home. Individuals of various species, including a Rhodian, once attended a parade on Chorin. Locations. The planet's hills housed mines, controlled by pirates before the Empire liberated the planet, that were excavated for resources. At least one mine had miners wear a breath mask and a pair of goggles during work. A village was located near the hills, but it was ravaged and attacked by raiders and later abandoned when the population migrated to Loic. A makeshift graveyard for the victims of the attack was also created near the village, with each miner's helmet laid over the graves. Receiver Station 35639, a communication station located near the mines, could be used to communicate with individuals off-world. The planet also contained at least two cities, Chorin City and another at which an Imperial parade took place. Behind the scenes. Chorin first appeared in a flashback scene in the second issue of the comic book miniseries Star Wars Target Vader, written by Robbie Thompson, illustrated by Stefano Landini, and published by Marvel Comics on August 14, 2019. The world received its name in the fifth issue, which was also written by Thompson and published on November 13, 2019. In the Star Wars Legends continuity, the homeworld of Baylor Valance was the mining world Shinbone, which was first featured in The Hunt Within, Valance's Tale, Part 1, a scenario authored by Jason Fry and published on December 2, 2004 on Wizards.com for use with Wizards of the Coast Star Wars Miniatures Tactical Miniatures Wargame. Thanks everyone for watching, and we hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, this is Spooky Willow signing off, and may the Force be with you.